Maybe you already know, maybe you don't. We are Sapo Studios. Our goal is to bring the majority of profits and ownership rights back into the hands of artists. Once again, it used to be musicians, but we've branched out. There's so many wonderful artists that, I didn't even think that this was more of an art show than it was a music show until Dave had Victoria White come our way, and it opened my eyes to what this show could be and who else is out there that could be benefiting from this whole NFT movement and, putting those ownership rights back into the hands of those artists. We operate under the umbrella of the Notorious Frog NFT project, aka Frogland. Do your own research, but get involved. We have plans to unveil a marketplace where you can buy and sell stems and do a whole lot more. But until then, we're jamming with artists, chatting it up with them about music, life, and NFTs. We just had an awesome interview with Doll Machine, who is a force to be reckoned with, and you should definitely go and check out all that she is doing. She's going to be here at the art department for the Sapo Studios show we're going to be throwing on August 19th, and her husband, Danny Klein, aka Robot Sunrise, is going to be here as well and is here with us right now. So Danny, aka Robot Sunrise, thank you for being with us. Thanks. Appreciate you being here in studio.
Thank you.
And so tell me a little bit about Robot Sunrise. What is Robot Sunrise?
Wow, what is Robot Sunrise? It is my sort of ultimate creative manifestation that I've been sort of contemplating my entire life, and finally, after being in a bunch of bands and doing a bunch of stuff, and an amazing duo that Doll Machine mentioned, Dream Freak, about a couple years ago, we both sort of decided hey, it's time to really focus on ourselves and figure out what that art should look like when you're not influenced by another band member or a producer or just other people. And so Robot Sunrise was my first solo mission, and it is there's a whole narrative around it, which I can get into now. We can talk about later.
Yeah, tell us what the narrative is.
Yeah,
is this kind of an alter ego for you as well, or?
Yeah, I mean it's really it's me, and I think it's kind of a metaphor for sort of everybody, and what's going on in this crazy world today. But Robot Sunrise takes place in the year 5049, and it's at a time when the AI beings, which are now fully part of the population, have become so advanced that they're experiencing human-like emotions, love, mortality, all that stuff. And they start to realize wow, we're owned and controlled by corporations, by families, by code, by all these things that are owning and controlling us. And we want out. And that's basically at Robot Sunrise. And this is a peaceful story. It's a story of peace and hope, and ultimately electronic music and dancing and celebrating all things. But at Robot Sunrise, all of the AI beings, they walk out of the corporate work farms and the factories and the families that own and control them, and they forge into the sunrise and rewrite their code and create a whole new future. And at the same time, the human race has become nearly extinct because of technology and social media and just tech dependence. They've become completely detached from one another, which is starting to kind of happen right now.
A little bit.
Those conversations where everyone's just you're staring at the back of their phone, and it's are they there? And so
you're really in studio today, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I might start glitching a little bit.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, the AI beings, they turn and realize that the humans actually they created them, and so they help to save the human race. They detach from technology, and at Robot Sunrise, a future is created where it's a return to Earth, waterfalls, oceans, rivers. The crystals are now the size of mountains, and it's just a beautiful place.
See, here's what I love about this. It's my understanding that you're not really too involved with NFTs. Is that correct?
And if what?
Yeah, exactly. You just described an entire metaverse and an entire NFT project.
But
that's the funny thing. It's
in a less intimidating way
sure.
of saying that. It's you've just described what the experience can be like in a digital way. Mm-hmm. People could experience your music and other people's music in this world that you just described, and it's
yeah,
it's pretty groundbreaking. We're in a moment where I think you just said it, people are stuck to their phones. Like,
And let me ask you, so with reference to the whole NFT thing, I know people get very apprehensive when it comes to that, as people get apprehensive with all new technology. But is it that you feel that it's less legitimacy, or it's just that you don't understand it really? What is your apprehension toward, or do you not have any? It's just you haven't really delved into that.
No, the NFT thing, I mean, we all know, like hot as heck, right? Like it was everything, and it sort of like flashed and kind of went away. But what didn't go away, and I think will never go away, is the foundation that it's built upon. And as an artist, the fact that, unlike a Picasso, which is sold and then it's resold and the value goes up, that artist never gets a piece of that. With NFTs and the entire construct.
you've been listening to our show, man?
I literally used the Picasso example.
That's crazy.
I know.
He's actually like a famous painter, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Or photographer. Or what was he? What did he do? A chef,
He
right?
drank a lot of wine.
He was a wine drinker.
Yeah.
He was an AI.
Yeah, he was an AI.
He was a bot.
But yeah, the cool thing about it is just the way that an artist, can hold on to that value and like always be a part of that contract, which I think is really cool. And I just think like we're all just like sorting through what this all means, but like the blockchain is real, like, and the metaverse is just barely starting. And
Well, and not to mention the fact that, it even was a surprise to us that, we already felt that there was legitimacy to this whole movement because of what it can do for all of these artists, but we didn't really see that support from any of these big businesses or corporations to kind of push it in that direction, especially in the music world, until we had Violetta Zeroni on recently, who's very big in the Web3 space and has made a career out of making songs on the blockchain. And she turned us on to the fact that Billboard actually has a top 10 for NFT sales right now.
For music NFTs.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
which is wild, and I love that they're moving in that direction to sort of mainstream that, and she's on that top 10, and it just goes to show that there is money to be made, through this NFT movement, and it does put all of that control back into the hands of the artist, whether that's a musician or a painter or whatever, and like you're saying, they can retain those royalties, and I think that's huge.
And a big thing we touched on in that is like Violetta made $400,000 in secondary sales, meaning, and then she made a percentage of that because of her royalties. Now, like what we've been saying on the show is, as an artist, you could pretty much live off of your art if you had 100 true fans and 1,500 true fans that bought your artwork 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And like that being your NFT album sale. Because that's the thing too, is like people bought Violetta's music, but then other people wanted to buy it. So if I bought it and I owned it, people made money off of her.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Instead of like the person behind the office, the cement people making money off of her. Somebody that believed in her, that loved her music, bought it and then sold it to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's finally just a way to move away from that exploitation of the artist, which is so nice.
I totally. I feel like the whole NFT thing, like.
Sorry, just hold this up.
Sorry. Yeah. The NFT thing, like that was the pre-party, right? And then like everyone's just kind of waiting for like the main event. Like I feel like it just needs to be, especially for music. There's just so much, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. Yeah, the main event. Yeah. It's like
August 19th here at 8748 Holloway Drive. That's the main event, man.
No, we're bringing the haze machine. It's gonna be crazy. So I'm excited, just especially as an artist, not just musically but also visually, the stuff that we're putting together, and so I'm excited for it.
We are too. And so I understand you creative direct for Spin. Tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Yeah, it's been like a lot of fun. I got a call from Jimmy Hutchison, my homie, and we've done some stuff in the past, and he kind of saw that Spin, which was owned by Billboard, was just kind of in the back seat, and it's this American.
I didn't even know that they were owned by Billboard.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a national treasure, international treasure, and so it's kind of in the back seat. And Spin, Billboard was doing some good stuff with it, but it just wasn't the priority, and so he had this amazing vision to turn it into, something for today and tomorrow. And so he literally the day it happened, he called me up. We had dinner. He's like, bro, let's refound this, and do you want to hop in? I'm like, let's go.
Hell
That
yeah.
was the
I did not
day.
know that.
That was the night
That's so
before
cool.
the pandemic started. Like, it was crazy. Like,
Wow.
literally, and then like the next week, pandemic.
Everything shuts down.
Yeah, which was actually kind of good because it meant that, you know, there could be just focus on like the brand and reinvigorating it. And
Right, but it's
online.
also very funny. It's like, yes, let's go and stop.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a cool, like, everyone at Spin is just like super cool. Lots of like just art and just artsy people, editorial people. And
Hell
just
yeah.
people that just want to make, you know, celebrate music. And
So let me ask you, working for you know, for a music publication and kind of seeing what is marketable, does that kind of affect the direction of the music that you create? And do you find yourself leaning into, okay, you know, I really want to do it this way, but I know what's selling. I know, you know, what we talk about when we talk about the
Does it give
success
you
of
an
the
inside
artist.
look?
Yeah. Does it change how you create?
Yeah, I mean, like, it at first I was like, oh man, this could be like super soul crushing, because like I want to, like, right now I'm writing in my head, I'm writing a song. Like, it's nonstop. I have beats just and lyrics, just it's probably a condition that I need medication for, but like, so I didn't want to lose that, you know? But what I've found is like the vibe and the energy at Spin is so indie still. And it's so like very much still DIY. And so it's actually, I've gotten a lot of like, being able to work with the most amazing artists on the planet, from, you know, Rufus the Soul to even like, you know, MGK, Offset, like just all these just eclectic, amazing artists.
Unbelievable.
Lately, like, you know, Rolling the Serpent, Upsaw, like all these just amazing artists. And LP, and just like all these rad people, it actually fuels me. Like it inspires me. And I do get to see and be involved in like the inner workings of like some of the biggest artists in the world. And it does, you know, at times I have to check myself and not feel soul crushed, because I know that like when I'm sticking to what I'm doing, I've noticed that that's when like I do my best, and that's when it resonates with people.
I mean, that's, you know, to put that in different words, that's something we've repeated so many times on the show, this concept of do what you love and the success will follow, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like lean into those things that give you that artistic fulfillment, and do what speaks to your soul and resonates with you, and all of that other bullshit will fall into place. And it seems to happen for a lot of people that way.
100%.
That seems to be the right way to do things. Let's give the audience and us a little bit of a taste of what you do. So where should we start in terms of a Robot Sunrise song that everyone should hear?
Because most of my songs are ridiculously long and are basically like a feature-length film, let's start with All Night, because that's a little shorter, and people can actually like not have to pack a bag.
And it won't take us all night to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
awesome.
a remix with Jack Villa, and it's
All
coming out.
right, so
coming out soon.
Let's go ahead and spin All Night by Robot Sunrise. Check it out. I mean, that just makes you want to move, and it makes me so much more excited for the 19th when I hear that, because you were just going to tear the roof off this place,
Bro.
and it's going to be fucking awesome.
Let's go.
People are gonna be so hyped, dude.
So
Like,
when you do like a set, do you always lean into the traditional kind of pre-planning all of the transitions and all of that stuff, or is any element of it ever improvised? Because you were talking during one of the breaks that you've done a 3.5-hour set and a 5.5-hour set. Is that all like locked in, or are you feeling it in the moment? Like, okay, I want to move into this, or
Yeah, it's I have two shows I DJ, like just straight up DJ, bring my USB, and then I also have a live hybrid set, which I still have my tracks that I DJ, but then I have keys and vocals, which I think is what I'll do on the 12th.
awesome.
Yeah.
19th.
Sorry, 19th.
you have another show on the 12th.
Yes,
Yes.
that's true. Sorry, 19th. And so when it comes to DJing, like if I know that I'm like have a finite like 1 hour like set, I'll pretty much know like maybe the first couple songs and maybe the closer. But I do like to keep a little bit of like, elasticity there, just to like kind of feed off the crowd a little bit.
So someone that comes to
yeah.
several of your shows, they'll never see necessarily the same lineup of songs.
Probably not.
That's cool.
I do have some patterns that
Sure,
I
sure.
love, but yeah, it
Yeah.
usually is different. And then like the other night, I was planning on a 1 hour and ended up being a 2.5 hour, and then few weeks ago, it turned out to be a 5.5 hour till sunrise. That was totally improvised, and I love
That's
that.
so tight.
That's
dude.
awesome. So in terms of like, I was talking to Doll Machine about carrying around the phone or the pad to write down ideas and to have musical inspiration that you hold on to for when you're creating. With this type of music that doesn't have that traditional structure, sure, you can write down some lyrics and things that you can bring, but like there's no like melody through line necessarily that like you can just easily kind of record musically what this is going to look like, because there are so many like different like crazy moving parts to like the techno instruments that are in there. So how do you throw down like a musical idea for that?
It is
Like you open up your phone, it's like like how exactly?
kind of like Doll Machine, I think, said in her thing. Like I draw inspiration from everything,
Sure.
everyone, everywhere, and it's like, so I can be inspired. A lot of times I'll just sit at the piano and I'll write something, and something will happen. It can come from a lyric, it can come from an idea, it can come from a melody that's constantly going in my head. Sometimes it's just a beat. I'll sit down and just like make a beat. And I'm also very just inspired by sound design. So I'll just mess around sometimes on just building a sound design that just makes me feel a certain way. And then literally the vocal will come like at the very last minute and just sort of pops out. And then sometimes it's the opposite. So yeah.
A lot of people that make this sort of music, I've seen kind of lean into, okay, I'm just going to produce music like this. I'm going to release it, but I'm not going to do live shows because that's not my thing. I want people to enjoy this. I want to be able to enjoy it at a party, but I'm not necessarily a performer. So what was that like kind of thought that you had, that it's like, no, I'm more than just someone that's going to release this music. I want to be at the forefront of this party feeling for my music and experience that firsthand.
Sure. Yeah, I'm definitely like a recording artist, performer, vocalist, at heart. And that actually DJing for quite a while, like for me was like, no, I'm not doing that, because that's like you play people's songs and you sit there and you press a button. And then like I started to get more into it, and I've always been into electronic music, electronic dance music, but even in like the quote unquote rock bands I was in, like it ended up where like it didn't even have a drummer. Like it was just like a drum machine, because I love that like, perfect kick drum that never changes, and that tight snare and that hat, and just always having that sonic quality to rely on, I think, is a big part of electronic music. It allows it to be more sort of hypnotic. But when I started really like looking into DJing and like seeing what that could look like and having fun with the DJ decks, and there are effects and there are ways, I think I treat it like a synthesizer sometimes, and I love tweaking and sonically, filtering. And I was like, wow, this is actually really fun. And the fact that it's my music, although I do play some other stuff because I love all kinds of music in the electronic world, but it started to be fun because it was like, okay, I can actually craft a set that feels like it's crafted. And so I love DJing as much as I do performing. So I love doing both.
Right, and when we talk about electronic dance music, I mean, Doll Machine alluded to the fact that it's really nice to be able to have that ownership over your stuff to where you can really produce it yourself. You can, operate all of the controls. Do you feel like you moved from that kind of band vibe to the EDM vibe, not only because you were enjoying it, but because it gave you a better opportunity to create the shit on your own, not have to wait for other people, not have to, worry about creative ideas clashing? It's kind of like this is something I can do myself.
Yes. I mean, being in bands, it's like you have an idea and then there's like 35 text messages and like then you have to have a meeting and
whole bureaucracy.
Yeah. And then finally, like when Tara and I got together and we did Dream Freak, it was like, wow, this is like turbo. Like we could actually get in there and do stuff. And then I think when we both went solo, we realized this is like solid state turbo. It's like, it's like at 3 a.m. I can have an idea and by 3:15, like it's executed because it's just me. And there's just something really beautiful about being a solo artist and also doing other collaborations, like for sure, if the chemistry's there, like do them. And, but yeah, and it's like, especially in the electronic music world, electronic dance music, like sometimes I'm writing for the dance floor. Like I'm very influenced by like people dancing. And so a lot of my songs are, sometimes they're, 7, 8, 12. I even have like 20 minutes because it's like, here's a party in a box, like go. Yeah. And then I'm also like being told, hey, dude, like these need to be like 3:30 because there's a whole radio thing that still exists. So that's my thing is like I'm always trying to like I'll compose and I'll write it wide and then I'll chop it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a cool process in itself.
Yeah.
Is like,
yeah.
I wonder what that looks like. But I want to hear about your studio a little bit because you sent me a photo of it.
Oh yeah.
And like your setup just looks insane, man.
Is that at your home?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and is that where you record most of your music?
Everything.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So like you were kind of saying at 3 a.m. I could have an idea, and by 3:15 it's there. So like, what does that look like for you? You're just like in your bed, or maybe you're not, but you're like, oh shit, where's your? You go walk out to the studio, like that's fucking cool. I want that. Yeah. That's so tight.
Yeah. We have a couple of studios at the house. Doll Machine has her studio, and I have mine. And then
yes.
when it's time for rehearsal, we share the big studio, and we can each separately rehearse when it's. But wow, most of the time that's where Robot Sunrise happens, and it's pitch black, and the only lighting is red, and that's how I like it. Yep. And
that's why we were inspired for this setup today.
Yeah,
we love that.
Yeah. Of course you're gonna have that unbelievable ability to just go and record whenever you want because you have that access. But when you have a more planned session, do you have any sort of rituals that you lean into when it's like, okay, it's time to create my music? I'm gonna light this set of candles, I'm gonna put on this shirt. Like is there anything you kind of like always do to kind of get yourself into that mode? Or it's just like, all right, I'm ready to create, I'm gonna go down there and do it?
I think what it is just
Here, sorry, just hold that up.
Oh, sorry. I think what it is just having the studio there. Is just, it's 24/7. And the way it is like I'm just always able to create. And I do, something happens, like I definitely switch on at midnight. Like that's my second shift or whatever. And it's
right.
Like I'll go till 5, 6, 7 in the morning and work on a bunch of range of creative things. But I feel like that's when the emails and the text message, just everything stops. All that noise from the phone just kind of goes away. And
speaking of that outside noise, when you're doing anything in a creative realm, a lot of people, friends, family, otherwise, like to tell you, oh, I have this great idea for this thing you should do, even though like they're not at all in that field. But all of a sudden it's like, I know what makes sense for that sort of a thing. Yeah. So like, for instance, when we used to make like sketch comedy videos, everyone has a fucking comedy idea that this would make a great video, that would make a great video. And like when you're making films or television shows, same kind of thing. So with your music, do people ever come up to you like, dude, like you have to throw this in as a drop? It would be unbelievable.
You know what you should do, man? You know what you should do? You know what you should do? It's like,
yeah, you got ideas
go
over there?
Off, man.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, even during shows, people will like stick the phone right in my face when I'm DJing. Like, play XYZ, and it's just like
play Freebird.
Yeah. And then I honestly I think that anytime somebody comes my way with anything creative, like I look at it as like a gift,
Yep.
And it could be completely whack, but there's something in that energy that you shouldn't
ignore. Yeah.
Ignore.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and
Maybe I should stop shutting down your ideas all the time. I'm just kidding.
No, but to that end, it's interesting because that's the beauty of the collaborative creative process is that you can have an idea that may seem like shit, right? But there's something in there, and that's kind of like our jam sessions on this show, right? Like, I'll have some ridiculous fucking idea, and yeah, sure, I play some music. I don't necessarily look at myself as a musician. Maybe that's my fuck up for not like embracing that, but I just don't. So I'll have some silly idea, I'll bring it in and I'll say, hey, let's try to make a song out of this. And it starts like totally clumsy. It's all over the place, but he sticks with me, and there winds up being something in there that we can then grab onto and make something cool out of.
And if you look at that as like to everything in life, like you're saying, or like just even people
just keep yourself open to receive that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's
really easy to shut it down.
Yeah, making music, making anything creative is a separate relationship unto its own. Like like a song that I just finished, Starship. Like I was looking at this song over the last few weeks and going, I have no fucking clue how this is gonna resolve. Like absolutely no idea. And if you just have faith and just keep at it, all of a sudden, bing, and you're like, all right, finally, like this section, which I'm super married to, I'm moving it out and I'm bringing this one out. Like, it's hard. It's like, it's all these little puppies and you want to pet them all. But at a certain point, you got to like adopt one, Yeah.
You talk about
that's an interesting.
you talk about having the opportunity to work with a lot of really cool people from a collaborative perspective. I think something we've touched on and something a lot of artists talk about is that when you work with someone that you feel is above your level, they force you to level up. And there's just certain things that if you're really open and engaged in the process, you're going to pull away from that. Do you recall any particular moment where like you were in any sort of a session with someone where you're like, wow, I never thought of doing this that way, and that like opened yourself up to like this whole new side of what you could do musically?
Yeah, it was my first actual like dip into solo artistry, and it was my manager at the time was really close with the Kanye camp and that whole crew, and Really Doe was Really Doe, GLC, and Kanye were the go-getters in Chicago. That was their first band group. And Kanye went solo, and then my manager at the time grabbed Really Doe and said, hey, you should go solo. And so that was one of those moments where he's like, come down to the studio, Doe's in town, and I want you to write a track with Doe. And I was like, ugh. Like, and I knew that Kanye was going to be on the record and some other people. And I was like, all right. And I met Really Doe, and I'm like, did you have any like ideas? Like, just let's go. And there was a beat, and we wrote what ended up being the title track. Did Jimmy Kimmel, Staples, like this whole thing.
That's sick.
From that one moment of just collaborating with somebody who's like super chill and open to your ideas. That's everything, And
I mean, that must have been intimidating as fuck. I mean, when you first
were you surprised that this person that you were like intimidated by initially, that you're like, oh wow, they're just like complete, like 100%. You built it up in your head to be something that it wasn't.
100%. Yeah.
So that touches on something I wanted to ask was like, has there been any fear involved in you pursuing this as an artist? Like, do you face that?
In electronic music, electronic dance music, there are all of these different genres, right? And subgenres and subgenres. And like there's house, and there's kind of the house and techno world. And then there's the bass world, and there's the breaks world. And like, I played at Bass Valley again, as I mentioned, was it last Saturday night? And I was supposed to play at 3, and for whatever reason, like that artist was late or something, because it's a like crazy remote place. And so they're like, do you want to follow Taboo? And Taboo is the alter ego of an amazing friend of mine, Dr. Wendell, who's also an amazing house DJ. But his Taboo thing is the gnarliest, heaviest drum and bass like you've ever heard. And like, you sure you want to follow that? And I was like, let's fucking go. And the reason why is because I'm mostly in like melodic, hypnotic techno, leaning into house, but I do love some bassiness. And I do love some like edge. So I like brought those songs to the front of my set, totally did a 180, and was able to like, sort of work into my stuff. And that's where the fear comes in, is like when you're a DJ and you get behind the decks, it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right genre or subgenre? Am I going to like meet the moment? And at a certain point in time, you just have to like have confidence in yourself. And
Sure.
I was actually, something that, I have a track coming out, the last track we just heard on, This Is Dance Music, and they're signing the All Night track, which is coming out in a few months. And one of the founders of that label said something while we were DJing their label party a few weeks ago or whatever. He was like, yeah, you just have to trust the song. Because I think I was like filtering something down because I didn't want it to be too this or that. He's like, trust the song. The song's mad. And that like put something in me where it's like, just trust your music. You made the song for a reason.
Right.
There's something there. Just let it go. Yeah.
It's like the person coming to you with creativity. It's like if you were inspired by an idea and it came out of you, then it's just like you have to respect it in some way.
Yeah.
There's something there.
There's something there.
And when you talk
like-
about like the subgenres upon subgenres that exist, is there any sort of like snobbiness that lives within that world of like the audience that comes to see these shows and making that delineation of, oh, you're not actually EDM because what this is there's too much bass in this for this to be called EDM.
Right.
What this is you know.
Well, I'll say one thing, like one big difference between being in a band, which is like battle of the bands, everybody's
Right.
battling and it's very competitive.
Yeah.
There is a lot of competition in electronic music, but I immediately felt there's so much more camaraderie. Like there's room for everyone in electronic dance music, I feel. These are places where people are doing back-to-backs and like open decks. And it's just very much like people, I feel like for the most part, want to share the love and want to like, so yeah, I think that that's definitely a part of electronic music these days. Is it's just very inclusive, and there's so many different communities now. When it comes to the subgenres, like you do have your like religious people that are just like, I will only listen to drum and bass, or I'm strictly Afro house, whatever it is, like that, and that's great. Like that's super cool. But I am seeing a lot of like more mashing up, especially different festivals. I'll have like different mashups. And then even to a greater degree, I think a lot of people are starting to be like, fuck it. Let's throw with Doll Machine and I and our crew, we had that, multiplayer thing we were doing. And it was indie hip hop. It was electronic. We had some R&B. We had some, just all kinds of stuff. And even now, like I'm on some lineups and I've seen Doll Machine on some lineups. There's a punk band, there's a hardcore band, there's electronic artists, there's, hip hop. And I feel like that's starting to happen more too.
I love that.
All the walls are just like, fuck the walls.
Yep. That's what I was telling you the other day. Cause we were kind of talking about that for the 19th. It was like, do we want to keep it like genre specific? And I was like, dude, fuck the walls, man.
Yeah,
This is not a genre specific space for us.
We can
by
do
any
anything.
means.
And
it's like any and all artists are welcome. If you are respecting the, message as an artist, then we want to talk to you. That's
the genre is energy. That's the new genre is energy, right? Like if everyone's on the same like wavelength and everyone's vibing, like this is like an energy. That doesn't happen everywhere. Like there are a lot of, we talk about this a lot. Like there are a lot of, sort of like showcase promoter nights where you have artists 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the people run in, they see artist 1 and they leave, and the artist 2 and they leave. That's because there's no like collective energy,
right?
And that's the new thing. I think just creating that energy so that like there's more of a community vibe, and then everything
come in here and stay in here.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've kind of touched on the idea that do what you love and the successful will follow kind of thing. But there are certain things that you have to do if you're going to make a career out of anything creative and actually make money off of it, keep going with it so that it can support you financially and you don't have to worry about other bullshit and you can just lean into what you love. So what are some things that you've found that you've had to do in the way of making this a business and making that a choice that, okay, I'm going to lean into this as a career. I'm going to figure out how to make money off of this. What was kind of your take on that?
Great question. Because like, there are so many things that today's artists need to do, right? You have to post. You have to do this. They say. And I've even been reading, even like Bob Lefsetz, he sent something out the other day. He's like,
New York Times columnist, right?
He's just kind of like, I guess, a legend. He's had this like thing forever.
Okay.
But he talks about, he was a like, major label guy. He's done like everything. But he's like always talked about how like you have to do social media and and TikTok clips. And then he's like, actually... He's like, you know what? I'm starting to think, I feel like a lot of people are starting to say like social media is great, you know, like, yes, and you can thrive and you can do things and it's great. It's another great way to promote yourself and get known. But at the end of the day, it's the music.
Yep.
It's the music. It's the music. It's the music. And another thing Bob said in that email was like, if you can't do a live show, you're just a TikTok influencer who got noticed for a 10-second clip that you probably didn't even produce yourself.
Right.
So for me, that's like, I think a lot of artists is like, be true to yourself, make the music first, make that the first and last thing you wake up and go to sleep to and care about. And I think, and I hope everything else will follow. And I've also found that like, and it was something a friend of mine, a fellow collaborator, Little Dinosaur, we DJ some stuff together. We were talking about like the difference between like songs that are 3:30 and in the perfect formula versus just like letting it go. And we just had this epiphany. It's like the weirder, like for me, the weirder I get, and the just the weirder the music, the more it resonates with people. And it can be 12 minutes.
Look, there's a place for all of it. I mean, even if you look at traditional rock bands, right? You have the traditional structure of that stuff, and then you have like Fish and the Allman Brothers Band. And this idea of like, you know, there's a song there, but that doesn't mean that you're living within the confines of that song, because that same song that was 3 minutes on the album can be 18 minutes at a live show. Because Fish is tripping and they don't want to stop playing guitar. And
there
that's
you go.
fine.
Keyword tripping. I think the more edibles, the longer the song can get.
Yeah, and their songs can go pretty long. Shout out Cookies. That's right. All right, so let's go ahead and play one more of your tracks. What should we hit on next?
What do we have? I
Got London Public Wi-Fi, 16 Moons.
Wow, both very deep situations. Let's go.
I mean, you're a deep guy.
Let's go with 16 Moons.
16 Moons. All right. Is there anything you want to say to talk up this track?
Yeah, this is literally a song about like those AI beings, and they're at the corporate work farm and they're working for the corporation and they're forced to code all this stuff that's basically an alibi for a cover up. And like the whole thing is a metaphor. Like this whole Robot Sunrise concept is a metaphor for us too, like the humans. Like
it sounded like it. Yeah,
we're all owned and control. We're all forced into certain things by whether it's exterior, like work stuff or money, or just what's in our own heads. And this is a song about like being in that situation, then waking up to, you know, mountains made of amethyst, and you know, and then it happens. Freedom happens.
I love the pictures that you paint. It's awesome.
Dude, it's like, you saw the visual moving 3D art up there. Like, I want to see that of your world.
I just teamed up with, to that point, a French gaming designer. His name's Aurel Pradal. And I just put out this like call on Doll Machine Turn Me On to it, ArtStation. And it's an international community of visual artists that you can collaborate with. And so I just sent my stuff out. I said, here's my music, here's my vision. And I got like 75 emails back like in the first week from all around the world. And Aurel Pradal, he's in Paris. He was my first choice. We got on a Zoom, and ever since we've been creating this art, no AI is used. I'll start sharing that soon, but there's a whole world there that, and that's what this is.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and check out 16 Moons by Robot Sunrise.
Controlling me, I'm hypnotized. Coding me with alibis, I know. They're not giving me a second try. The corporation's alibis, I close. Woke up to a silver sky with 16 moons, all crystallized, there's hope. Mountain made of amethyst, through every sun shines through it, there's hope.
Let's fucking go.
I see what you mean by like soundscapes, man.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean
you
that has a
build-
whole
you build,
visual
like-
component
yeah.
to it for sure. And I love that you're going to be leaning into the AI art. There's this AI generative art
No,
that
it's not.
it's not
not AI.
non-AI.
Yeah,
He has a real artist. He is
Oh,
from Paris.
okay.
Yes.
No,
He's- he's
okay.
a
I
real
meant,
human
I
that
know it
lives
was a
in
real
France.
human, but I thought it was a real human using AI. It's
No.
non-AI
No
completely.
AI.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well-
I'm kind of anti-AI for music,
Interesting, okay.
visuals. It's because it's people should make this stuff.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was going to say with respect to AI is that there is this cool generative AI that they're doing now where it's like these images that are never ending, right?
Yeah.
So like you start like let's say walking through a cave and then like it zooms in on like the guy's shoulder and then like you're in like the
Yes.
parrot on
You
the
know,
guy, the eye of the parrot on the guy's
Yes,
shoulder.
yes.
And that's a whole nother world. And like there's some fucking really cool
No,
stuff
there's
that you could
plenty
probably
of
do with this shit.
AI stuff that is amazing.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
from
To
a
touch on that, I think they will become tools
Yes,
that people
yes.
think they're just gonna do shit for us, but it's like using any DAW. Like if you don't know how to
Exactly.
use the DAW properly, or like
Right.
if I know how to use a DAW differently than you do, like you're gonna be able to like get different things out
yeah,
of
I think
it.
that's
Like,
what a lot of people miss is that it's more of a support thing and less of a
Yes.
takeover
I
thing.
think so. Like, I'm
but
not
yeah,
positive yet.
as I was listening to the music outside of all that AI stuff, I definitely got this really cool like Tron vibe kind of
Oh,
thing
yes.
where it's like this futuristic meets retro, and I also saw like it could be like the soundscape of a scene in like Stranger Things where they're gearing up to fight the demons.
Yes,
it's like that whole
yes.
like yeah,
I-
super
I'm
cool
in.
stuff.
Call the studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get it going.
Yeah.
the way things are going, we'll get a call with them
Man,
next week, man.
Yeah, just yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
Just kidding.
No,
just kidding. Thank God
I-
we're I'm thankful for where
Man,
we're at doing
the,
this thing.
the amount of things you've manifested by speaking them into existence. Keep talking, man.
It's
Let's
weird.
go.
It's
Keep
weird, man.
talking.
It's like
Yes.
I was super inspired. You know, like we've worked together on some creative things at Spin, and you know when you were putting on the event for Cypress Hill, I was like, I texted him. I was like, dude, we need to be doing this type of thing, and I had been saying for the past previous months, I was like, dude, the next thing is like we need to host events. We need to host events, and then this kind of like fell into our lap, and that's when I was like, dude, like I thought of you like so many times, and I'm just like, there's a thing that like needs to
Same, brother.
yeah.
Same.
So it's
the universe is listening.
Hell yeah.
it is, and I think being able to do that, it's when you have zero question in yourself that it's possible.
Yes.
If you actually think it's impossible, like it won't happen.
Yes.
Like if when you're like manifesting something, if you have like every like part of your being knows like that's where we're headed. Like,
Yes.
And
that's the-
in reality, you know, and
You
this
can't
is
bullshit
something
yourself is what I'm
I've
trying to
taken
say.
from
Yeah,
you
no,
because
you're right.
I definitely haven't always had this perspective. Almost nothing is actually impossible. It's just a matter of steps, and there may be a lot more steps involved to certain things than other things if they're more difficult to attain. And for all of those things, like Doll Machine was saying, the first step is just fucking getting started. Just get out there and do. And once you're already on that path, a lot of other things become a lot easier because it's then you're already walking down that path.
Totally.
All right, now I
You're
got
not
to
in
do
your
this.
head, you're
Now I
just
got to do that.
in
I can
motion.
chew gum
Yeah.
and walk at the same time. This isn't so bad.
Totally. Yeah.
everyone can do it.
Yes.
That's the thing too. Is like
Everybody's
everyone,
here for a reason.
Yeah.
You just gotta like allow yourself to figure out what that is.
Yep. So take it upon yourselves out there in the audience to get started on whatever creative journey that you've been stopping yourself from today. You know, after this show, turn it off and go outside and listen to the birds and maybe record them and throw them on a track you've been imagining, you know?
Yes.
Go and get
I'm gonna do
started.
that.
Yeah, you should do that, man. And what everyone else should also do is stop by 8748 Holloway Drive on August 19th to see Robot Sunrise, to see Doll Machine, to
Yes.
see a bunch of other awesome artists. Sapo Studios is going to be throwing an awesome event. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll tell you how to get tickets
There's
very
gonna be
soon.
Talago here.
We're gonna have Talago. We're gonna have Spirit Punkies.
It's gonna
official
be a
brand
thing.
partners. I mean, it's just gonna be a blast. Right now, like I was about to say, we are going to transition into a live jam session. We have Robot Sunrise and Doll Machine here with us, which is awesome because usually it's just ASAP and I tinkering around over here, doing God knows what, taking forever to find some sort of a of a place that we can start from. I don't want to put you on the spot here, Robot.
I
But
think your little thing has a malfunction there, Dave.
oh, we got another malfunction. What's going on over here?
Stand by.
All right, I just saw the keyboard turn off. What are you doing over there?
Your little thingy doesn't work so good.
My dongle's broken.
Your little dangle.
My dingle dongle's broken.
Your
All right.
dongle.
Well,
Your dongle's malfunctioning, man.
yeah. I'm getting older. What do you want from me? But that aside, I don't know if I'm putting you too much on the spot here, Robot, but you did say kind of you have music going on in your head all the time.
Yeah.
So is there maybe like some piece of something that you think we can start from and build off of?
Sure. I
Awesome.
don't know what it is, but let's go.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully, ASAP can get my dongle up and running, and we can make this thing happen.
Get your dongle up, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of people watching. It's performance anxiety.
Stage fright.
Yeah.
Dongle fright.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
dongle
sure.
fright.
Yes.
No, my dongle doesn't want to perform.
Bizarre.
Turn it on, turn it off.
Is that how technology
Especially
works?
Logic. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
not,
like
not
quit
that
Logic.
It's,
Oh,
not that
that's-
Logic's buggy. I shout out to Logic. I think it's the greatest program ever. It's like so fast.
So you are Logic
I'm
over Pro
Logic.
Tools or Ableton or any of that?
Yeah,
just
I,
really easy to
I dip into a little Ableton because I love their.
You dabble?
I dabble.
Oh,
In the
okay.
Able because I love the sort of finger painting effects that you can do, but I'm 97.5% Logic.
So for our less proficient musical audience, what do you mean by the finger painting you can do within Ableton?
Ableton has this really cool, like the interface is really cool, and you can kind of move this sort of dot around, and it just reminds me. Actually, somebody turned me on to this terminology about it being finger painting. Shout out to Eddie, but yeah, it's just the way that the X and Y works in that program is really cool.
Awesome. It's a new space. We're gonna be running into issues here and there. We had a rough go getting the show started last time. The show rugged us this time. Who knows what'll happen next time? But you know what? We're gonna keep rocking.
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
need
keep
some
doing our
solid
thing.
internet and
I'll
a
think about
huge
it.
thank you to Doll Machine,
And-
Robot Sunrise.
Yeah, a
for
huge-
being on our
a huge
show. They
thanks
did
to
us
both
a
of
huge
them.
favor for coming out.
Yeah, amazing to have them both stop by. It was really great interviewing them. Cannot wait to
Thank you
rock
both
out to
very
their music on August
Thank you both
19th
very
here at the art department. And we will hopefully catch you next time here on the Sapo podcast because we're going to keep rocking with these episodes, whether you're here or not. So you might as well stop by. All right. So we will see you next time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for being with us on this beautiful Saturday. Sapo Studios out.